Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'm going to talk about why I personally will never buy a 6.5mm cartridge. Whether it is the very popular 6.5 Creedmoor all the way up to the big one, 6.5 300 Weatherby, you're just never going to see me personally own one. And I'm going to give you my top reasons why I will be staying away from them. You guys let me know if you agree or disagree. Let's get into it. Let's just start out with my number one reason why I'll never buy a 6.5mm. I am really anti-trendy. So the 6.5mm are still to this day extremely popular. There's really some great reasons why people get 6.5mm. Let's just go over that. This isn't just a hate fest on 6.5. Well, starting with like these two, you get really high BC bullets and pretty mild recoil. So this is a 6.5 Creedmoor. To its right is a 6.5 PRC. Both recoil quite a bit less than a 30-06 or even a 30 caliber Magnum, and the trajectory is pretty darn good, especially in the 6.5 PRC. And people love that. It's efficient, it's less recoil, but I just kind of against trends, I guess. And so when I went and bought my elk rifle / cartridge in 2020, well, I definitely went very anti-trend with a 300 Weatherby Magnum. I told myself if I'm going to get a dedicated elk rifle / cartridge, well, I'm going to go big. And I certainly did in the 300 Weatherby Magnum. The next reason I would avoid 6.5mm, especially if I was trying to pick a cartridge that really could do it all. Well, the 6.5mm it kind of lacks in versatility, at least in bullet weights. So let me explain. In most cases, the lightest bullet you can shoot out of a 6.5 cartridge is a 95 grain. Now, I'm sure there's other companies that make lighter, and that's fine. And then the heaviest you're going to shoot, at least in high BC terms, is 150. Berger makes a 156. I guess if you want to shoot a round nose bullet, 160. So, it's kind of limited on the bullet weights. As a versatility, well, there's just better. Let me show you. Okay, so I made a list of most bullet weights for each caliber. Let's just start with 223. You're going to see 34 to 85 grains. And my little homemade math, that's about 51 grains. You can go up. Then with 243, it gets a little bit better when you can shoot 55 up to 115 if you have a fast twist. So that's about 60 grains you can go up. 257, this one's pretty limited, and hopefully it gets modernized in the coming years. But you're going to see on typically 60 grain, now those are kind of hard to find. So typically it's going to be like 80 to 120. So it's really like a 40 grain difference. It's pretty bad. And then we get to 6.5. And as I said, 95 grain up to 156. It's like a 61 grain difference in bullet weights. It's okay. 270. This one is interesting. We'll talk a little bit more about the 270 later. But typically 100 grain, and up until recently, it used to be only up to 150, but you can get them up to 180 grains. And so, funny enough, the 270 is a little bit more versatile than a 6.5. And then 7mm, 120 up to 195. That one's a little lacking, interestingly enough. Then 30, you're not going to beat the 30 caliber versatility. 100 grain up to 250 grain. So 150 grain difference. 8mm. I'm sure there's lighter bullets in 8mm, but the 8mm caliber is so dead that there's not a lot of bullet options. So a 180 to a 200 is usually typical. And then 338 almost matches the 30 caliber versatility when you can get bullets from 160 up to 300. So in the grand scheme of things, 6.5 is not bad, but it's not really versatile either. Now, my next reason is extremely debatable, and I'm sure you guys are going to let me know my opinion's stupid on this, but, well, it's my opinion. And you know what they say about opinions. Opinions are like butts. Everyone has them, and they all stink. Anyway, here's mine. When I think elk cartridges, these 4 cartridges come to mind pretty quickly. So what are they? 30-06 Springfield, 7mm Remington Magnum, 300 Win Mag, and 300 Weatherby. Obviously, there's a lot of great options beside these 4 as well. But when I think 6.5mm, I think deer cartridge. And I'm hesitant to shoot anything bigger than a deer with a 6.5mm. And there's certainly a lot of people that are going to take elk and moose and bear with 6.5mm this year, and that's fine. This is just my opinion. But I just don't think it's the greatest big game cartridge once you get past deer. And really this goes back to versatility. So let's say you have someone that just got a 30-06 Springfield, and they're going to go elk hunting, and well, their pick of a bullet is, I don't know, a 130 grain or a 140 grain or a 150 grain out of a 30-06. I think most people would say, well, that seems a little light for elk for a 30-06. You know, why don't you step up to maybe a 168 or ideally like a 180 grain in a 30-06? And so when 6.5mm's heaviest bullet is really like a 150 grain, yeah, it's not ideal for me. Now my next reason is certainly going to be just as controversial as the last one. My next reason I'll never get a 6.5mm is I have a 270 Winchester. Now I know the comments are going to come in, oh okay, Elmer Fudd, or I'll just call you Grandpa with your Grandpa cartridge. Well, the 270 is getting more modern bullets, and I just want to share some of the things that I've loaded with the 270 Winchester. So this bullet that's currently in it is a 165 grain AccuBond long range. And yes, it stabilizes, and yes, it's pretty darn accurate. I'm getting half MOA velocity at 2,750 feet per second. And this old 270 Winchester is quite the cartridge with this 165 ABLR in it. In fact, it matches extremely well, and in my opinion, a little bit better than the 6.5 PRC with the 143 grain ELDX. And I actually have video footage to kind of prove that the 270 just hits harder. 6.5 PRC. Got it. Yeah. Okay, 270 at the small target. 775 yards away or something. Driver. Now lastly, I feel like high BC has been a bit overstated and it's a bit overhyped as well. I'm not really into it that much, but if you're gonna do high BC, get some actual real high BC bullets. I think 6.5mm, yes, they have decently high BC bullets, but basically almost every caliber above it, with the exception to 270, is going to have higher BC bullets. For example, this is a 225 grain ELD match bullet I shoot out of my Fudd cartridge, the 300 Weatherby. And I'm getting good accuracy and great velocity. I'm getting 2,900 feet per second and sub MOA. And, well, let me see where is the BC on this guy? Okay, right here. A G1 BC of 0.777. Yeah, you're not going to find that kind of BC in a 6.5 ever. And this is not even the highest BC you can get in 30 caliber.